Hello YouTube and fellow DC Comic fans, I'm Keith One Shot, and this is my new Comic Complete dramatic reading series, and today I will be covering Titans Rebirth, Issue 11, The Lazarus Contract, Part 1, from DC Rebirth. All art, text, characters, and storylines belong to DC Comics, not me. And if you enjoy these stories, feel free to go out and support DC Comics in your local comic book shop. We start this issue off several years in the past, when the team was younger and still Teen Titans. The young Teen Titans are in an epic fight with the Ravager, aka Grant Wilson, who is the son of Deathstroke the Terminator, one of the Titans' most terrifying villains. Ravager clearly has the upper hand in this fight, as he's been made faster and stronger by the Hive. He easily throws Robin to the ground with a choke grip around Robin's throat. It seems like Ravager is invincible. Just then, a sharp pain in Grant Wilson's heart, and he grabs his chest. The Titans all wonder who hit Ravager. Omen senses it's Ravager's heart, and tells the Titans he's burning from the inside. Wally West quickly runs over to Grant, trying his best to keep Ravager's heart going, but it seems to be no use. Just then we see Deathstroke call out to his son, "Grant!" with his urgency in his voice. "Get out of my way!" And then Slade Wilson holds his dying son Grant in his arm, asking his son, "If you can hear him." Grant says with his dying words, "Deathstroke, did we get him? Did we get the Titans?" Slade Wilson, with sorrow in his heart, tells his son Grant, "Yes, you killed them all." And suddenly, Ravager dies in his father's arms. Deathstroke then picks up his son's body and carries him away, telling the Titans, "My son died here today because of you." The Titans try to tell Deathstroke about Hive, but Slade won't hear any of it. "Because of you," Slade says again, and tells the Titans that someday soon, you'll all pay for this. We then jump forward to 3 days before the present day. We see Slade Wilson in a hospital bed with a patch on his eye, and hear a voice say, "Welcome back, jackass." It's Billy Wintergreen, close friend of Slade Wilson. Wintergreen asks Slade how the surgery went, and Deathstroke seems unaware. "The cranial transplant," Wintergreen says. Deathstroke has recently been blind in Deathstroke Rebirth issues 12 through 18, so if you want to know more about that, pick up those issues. Wintergreen tells Slade that a Dr. Villain flew in here to perform his surgery, and the doctor wouldn't say who the donor came from, and that Slade shouldn't worry about meds because of his hyper-rehealing. Slade isn't one to waste time resting, so he starts suiting up, and Wintergreen tells Slade most blind men who just got their sight back would seem more delighted. Slade continues suiting up and tells Wintergreen to get the jet ready for New York. Wintergreen tells Slade that his daughter Rose is alive and in stable condition, and that his son Joseph is in rehab after the events of Deathstroke Rebirth issue 18, and that Grant, his other son, is still dead, telling Slade he was calling out Grant's name in his sleep, and saying he was also calling out New Flash, whatever the bollocks that means. Deathstroke simply tells his old friend to ready the jet. We cut to New York. It's 1 hour before the present time, and we see the Titans, Omen, Arsenal, Tempest, Donna Troy, Nightwing, and Wally West, Flash, all fighting a group of soldiers in high-tech suits. Omen tells the rest of the team that this group they are fighting doesn't seem to be Hive. She has scanned their thoughts, and Hive isn't present in their minds. Wally says, "We have to find Hive so we can get Karen's stolen memories back," which is a reference to Titans Rebirth issue 10, which I will soon get to and cover, and you can pick up if you want to catch up. Arsenal says he better not have been wasting good arrows, and Nightwing presses one of the soldiers for information, asking the soldier who they work for. And the soldier quickly tells Nightwing they're just men for hire, and that he has a message from the person who hired them. He said his name is Lazarus, the soldier tells Nightwing. Omen confirms the soldier speaks the truth and asks Nightwing what it means. "I don't know," Nightwing says, but Omen doesn't feel like Grayson was being honest to her. "I don't know," he says again. Then Roy notes that they had a lot of high-tech armor and weapons, saying someone went through a lot of time and money for no apparent reason at all. Donna Troy asks if it was all a distraction. Then Omen tells the rest of the team, "Where's Wally? Wally's gone!" We wake up with Wally West in the present moment, in an unknown location. Wally seems to be in a dark room on a treadmill, with metal arms around his ankles, wrists, and neck. "What the hell?" Wally says. "How did I get here?" "Name," a voice asks. "I'm Wally West, the fastest man alive." Wally quickly covers his mouth and asks why he said that out loud. "You shot me full of something when you tranked me." "Verbal laxative," the voice says, then tells Wally the angle and trajectory of his shot. Then the voice demands Wally to keep running. Wally refuses. Then he gets shocked, and then the voice says again, "Keep running." Wally starts running and asks, "How did you swipe me in broad daylight around the Titans?" 300 miles per hour, the voice says. Then Wally says, "I know your voice," and yet he's still unsure of himself. The voice asks Wally to tell him about the Titans. Wally says, "There's no way I'll tell you about my friends." As he's still under the effects of the anti-inhibitors, he tells the voice everything about how they were sidekicks who formed this team in secret to prove. Then Wally fills with anger in his eyes, lights up in a white rage. "Stop making me tell you," Wally screams out. 500 miles per hour, the voice says to Wally. The voice asks Wally, "So you vanished for years. Where have you been?" Wally then tells the voice how Abracadabra threw him into the time stream. "You came back," the voice says. Then Wally tells his captor everything about the Flash pulling him back into this timeline. How Wally remembers how things were before someone changed things and took years from everyone's life. "Who did this?" the voice asks, and Wally screams out, "I don't know!" Just then, the treadmill stops and Wally says, "I was right. It was you, Slade." Deathstroke tells Wally he has a deal for him. Slade says, "You were there when Ravager died, when the Teen Titans killed my son." Wally tries to explain how it wasn't their fault, how Hive gave Grant powers, but his heart couldn't take it, and how he told Slade he was there first, trying to help Grant, and how Wally was sorry he wasn't able to save his son. Back at the Titans Tower, Tempest is trying to think of what could have happened to Wally West. He suggests maybe he just left us, or maybe he's lost in the time stream again. He kinda does that. Omen asks Nightwing again if he knows anything about Lazarus, and why that message was sent to them by the soldiers in the first place. Nightwing again tells Omen that he doesn't know anything, but Omen then senses something else. Nightwing asks if she is scanning his mind. She assures Nightwing that she isn't, and even if she was, Dick Grayson was always one of the hardest minds for her to read. Omen knows Nightwing is lying to her, but she's not sure why. Back at the unknown location, where Slade Wilson has Wally West held captive, Wally asks Slade what Slade is doing. Deathstroke tells Wally to shut up, and then asks, "Speed bends time, correct?" Wally says, "No." "Well, yes, extreme velocities can create." Just then, Wally stops and asks Slade, "What are you asking me?" Slade replies by asking Wally about the Flashes, asking him about them using their speed force to travel through time. Just then, Wally seems to know why Slade is doing this all in the first place, and why he's captured Wally, and what he's asking of him. All those questions. And Wally tells Slade to not even consider this, but Slade tells Wally it's not your call, and then turns on a machine. A massive amount of energy seems to be surrounding Wally, and we see white lightning all around Wally. Full of this power, he screams out to Slade, telling him that Grant died, and that Slade needs to accept that. He tells Slade about him being adrift in the time stream, how he lost everything, and everyone he loved, and tells Slade how every day he lives with the temptation of changing things back to how they were before all of this, but that he doesn't, because you have to move forward. You have to focus on the present, and not the past. Make a life for yourself now, instead of losing yourself trying to recreate the past. The two fight back and forth, and Slade tells Wally, "It's easy for you to move forward. You have this great speed force, but you don't have a clue," and says that speed is wasted on Wally. Wally pins Slade to the wall and tells him it's over, and Slade tells Wally he's asking him to save a life, and says that he has a deal. If Wally helps him bring back Slade's son Grant, Slade will give up being Deathstroke, telling Wally if he saves one life, it will lead to thousands more. Wally says Slade, he can't do this, and he won't do this. Slade had figured as much and tells Wally he already got what he needed from him and that he already secured a contingency plan. Just then, to Wally's shock, Deathstroke shows Wally the prisoner he has locked up in the next room, and it's none other than Kid Flash, the Wally West we got in DC's New 52 and the current Kid Flash. Kid Flash says to Wally, "Hey, you're Wally West, I'm Wally West. How can that be? How can we both be Wally West?" And that ends Titans Rebirth, Issue 11, The Lazarus Contract, Part 1. Comic published by DC Comics. All rights, story, art, characters are owned by DC Comics and their respective owners, not me. This has been Titans Rebirth, Issue 11, The Lazarus Contract, Part 1, and I'm your host, Keith One Shot. If you like this video, make sure to support DC Comics and pick up a copy of the trades or single-issue comics. Support your local comic book shop. Take care. Have a great day. Goodbye.